In Dnipro, the wreckage of a missile shot down by air defense this morning fell on a private yard. As a result, 2 houses were damaged. 2 women and 1 man received shrapnel wounds, as reported by the head of the regional military administration, Valentin Reznichenko. Another missile hit the transport infrastructure facility. It was destroyed. This morning in Mykolaiv, as a result of rocket attack by the Russian armed forces, there was a fire of the private house in Ingulsky district of the city. At least 1 victim with shrapnel wounds is known. The main department of the State Emergency Service of Mykolaiv region reported about it. According to the SES, the fire in a residential building was extinguished in an area of 50 square meters. The Russian Air Force attacked the Kyiv enterprise in Soledar this day, said Pavlo Kyrylenko, the head of Donetsk Regional Military Administration. The plant specialized in the manufacture of construction mixtures. As a result of the shelling, the company's premises were damaged and a fire broke out. According to Soledar City Council Deputy Igor Zeleny, a series of airstrikes also damaged a high-voltage line and left the town without electricity. There were hits in residential areas. No one was injured or killed in the shelling. The Russian army does not stop shelling along the entire front line from Vuhledar to Bakhmut. This was announced by the head of Donetsk Regional Military Administration, Pavlo Kyrylenko. A rocket attack in Bakhmut this day destroyed the construction of one of the buildings from the 5th to the 1st floor. A severely injured 9-year-old child was rescued from the rubble. Don't faint. Move your arm. Here you are, good job. At least 1 person was killed. Kyrylenko does not rule out that there may be people under the rubble. He also said that another shelling in Bakhmut damaged a school and several infrastructure facilities. During the day, Avdiivka was also hit by a missile. 3 houses were damaged. There is no information about the victims. The shelling caused a power cut in several communities. The head of the regional military administration said that 7 civilians were killed and 6 were injured in Donetsk region during the past 24 hours. The exact number of victims in Mariupol and Volnovakha is currently unknown. Serhiy Haidai, the head of Luhansk Regional Military Administration, said that the bodies of 2 civilians with minor injuries had been found in Privilya this day and that 2 people had been killed in Zolote and Popasna. Doctors are fighting for the life of a 15-year-old child from Hirske at Dnipro hospital. The kid has a kidney injury. In total, there were 15 artillery attacks in Severodonetsk in one day. The Azot chemical plant was shelled again. 12 high-rise buildings were damaged and trade pavilions were on fire. Missile and bomb attacks were also inflicted on Hirske and Popasna communities. Houses in Zolotarivka, Komyshuvacha and Vrubivka were damaged. An evacuation bus carrying people from Luhansk region came under fire this day. It was announced by the head of the regional military administration, Serhiy Haidai, on his telegram. Every trip of an evacuation vehicle is a risk. Our drivers come under Russian fire almost every day, the message reads. Haidai said that the evacuation vehicle came under fire, but it managed to avoid damage. All people are alive. In total, 76 people, including 14 children and 1 injured person, were taken out of the region in a day. The State Bodyguard Service of Ukraine reports shelling and armed provocations at the border. During the current day, the Russian army opened fire 7 times on the border with Sumy region. The shelling affected country houses in Shostka district. 24 mortar mines, fired from the territory of the Russian Federation, exploded in the area of the country houses. According to the State Bodyguard Service of Ukraine, the shelling was accompanied by firing from large-caliber machine guns of enemy armored vehicles. The Ukrainian military also observed the flight of Russian manned and unmanned aircraft near the border. No border breakthrough has been recorded, as reported by Dmytro Zhivitsky, the head of the regional military administration. This morning, the Russian army fired on the village of Dmitrivka in Okhtyrka district. There was a hit in a private house. No one was injured. At the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russian troops destroyed the only national center for plant genetic resources in Ukraine and one of the world's largest ones. This was announced by a researcher at the Yuriev Institute of Plant Breeding, Serhiy Avramenko. In March, in order to carry out varietal renewal, the seeds were prepared for sowing. However, the building came under fire and the entire fund was destroyed.
Банки зберігалося більше, ніж 160 тисяч зразків
160,000 samples of varieties and hybrids from around the world. Hundreds of crops grown around the world. These seeds are stored in special repositories so that in the event of a large-scale natural disaster, such as a tornado, storm, hurricane, earthquake, future generations can restore the gene pool of plants and not lose this world collection.
Щоб можна було його потім відновити майбутнім поколінням людей, щоб можна було відновити його і не втратити цю світову колекцію.
The scientists noted that the bank has a long history, and before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, breeders from around the world, including Russia, ordered samples from this gene pool to create their own varieties.
Сумно казати про те, що гітлерівська Німеччина, коли
It is sad to talk about this, but even during the occupation of Ukraine by Hitler's Germany, the Germans did not destroy this collection, but tried to preserve it, hide it, because they knew that their descendants would benefit, because food security of each country depends on such a bank of genetic resources.
продовольча безпека будь-якої країни залежить від цього банку генетичних ресурсів.
Twelve-year-old Timofiy wants to become a pilot to defend Ukraine. However, now he has decided to help Ukrainian defenders with money. He plays the bandura on the street. He was inspired by a video with 6-year-old Solomia, who raised money by playing the flute. Solomia played in the European Square and raised funds for the armed forces to buy bulletproof vests and other things for their needs.
У нас была история, что когда были взрывы, ребенок 3 недели вообще не выходил.
We had a story that when there were explosions, the child did not go outside for 3 weeks. It was very difficult for him psychologically.
Я ему говорила, говорю, давай пойдем на улицу или... Он говорит, нет, мама.
I offered him to go outside. On the news, we saw Solomia, our girl, and I said, "Son, look, the little girl is also playing. Why don't you try?"
Девчонка тоже играет. Я говорю, почему бы тебе бы не попробовать? Он говорит...
He said he wasn't important to the country, but I said, let's try. We performed on April the 24th for the first time, and people reacted well, saying that he was good and doing a good deed.
Люди реагировали хорошо и говорили, ты молодец, и ты делаешь хорошее дело.
Timofiy says he will do everything he can to make Ukraine win as soon as possible, so that the war ends soon and we live in peace. The boy's mother transfers the raised money through internet banking to help the armed forces. About 1,500 hryvnias have already been sent. Plays very emotionally. Great, he plays beautifully. I graduated from music school myself, so I can hear how much he puts his soul into it.